I am prepping for a book signing and book panel tomorrow, so I thought that I would bring you along as I get ready for this and tell you the 5 things that I prepare for a book signing. And then as a bonus at the end, I will talk about some tips for preparing for a panel or a reading. Okay, the first and most obvious thing that you need for a book signing is your book. This can go a number of different ways depending on what the event is. So if you are reaching out to a bookstore, for example, to host a signing, this is where it can differ a little bit between traditionally published and self-published authors, depending on how your books are available. So a lot of times bookstores like to order books through their distribution systems, through Ingram, for example, where the books are returnable. So if your books are not returnable or only available through Amazon or KDP, it's likely that you'll have to consign your books to the store for the signing, which means that they don't really have a risk, and then you make some royalty back after the books are sold. You also want to decide if you have multiple books, which books you want to be available at the signing, and then order your stock. Now, if the store or the festival is ordering the books for you, it's up to their discretion to decide how many they want to order. But if you are ordering books yourself to bring to the event, this is up to you and your finances and how much you want to potentially risk if you don't sell through those books at the event. So if you're planning on doing multiple events, then I would probably order more. If this is your one-time event, then think about how comfortable you're going to be with leftover inventory. Are you okay with potentially having 20 books left over or 50 books left over, depending on how big you want to go here? You can try asking the venue that the event is going to be at about how much traffic they get, if they've done past events like this, about how many copies tend to be sold, and base it off of that, but it is hard to get an exact number. So just know that it's really up to you if you'd rather sell out of books and potentially have to close down early, or for you to potentially take home some inventory and have some loss financially. But also know that the online world makes it potentially easier to sell that leftover inventory too. I've taken author copies that I've had and sold them as signed bundles on Etsy or on my website or through social media. So that is always an option as well. Also in this same category of deciding what books and how many to order, I like to think about ahead of time what I'm going to sign in people's books, because I like to make it a little personalized, but also specific to that book. This isn't something that you have to do, but whenever I've gone to author signings in the past, I like when they leave a little note besides just signing their name. So for me, I write poetry, so it's a little bit maybe easier to pull a short quote from the book, but I encourage you to think through the themes in your book. Maybe there's a standout quote that could be inspirational on its own, or just relates back to the theme or the plot of the book, and use that in your signature when signing your books. I always like to ask for the person's name if they want it to be personalized to them, and sometimes they'll even tell me something that they want it to say if it's a gift for a friend or something like that, so you can always ask your customer as well. Number 2 is going to be your branding. So besides just a plain table with your book on it, it's really good to have a sign of some sort and potentially some branded merch on the table as well. This is an example of a sign that I have for my book signings. I put the cover of the newest book on it, a photo of me, and then just book signing and a little bit about me on here. So it has the book title, it has my contact information like my website, my social media handle. It's big enough that it sits on the table and can be read from a distance, but I didn't go for one of those really tall kind of floor to ceiling signs, which you can absolutely get if the venue will support that and be able to fit it. This particular sign I got from Zazzle. I think it was like $25. So it's pretty affordable. And since I was doing multiple events, I went with my most recent book cover, but you can always leave the book covers off if you want to be able to reuse it for every single launch that you do or every single signing that you do, even if it's for multiple different books. Other examples of things that I've seen on tables at book signings and book festivals would be a branded tablecloth of some sort. You absolutely don't have to do this, but you certainly can with your logo on it. Or people will have those tablecloths where just across the front, it will say your name, the genre of books that you write. And that can help grab attention if someone is across the room and sees, oh, this author writes my favorite genre of book. I'm going to go check it out. So that can be a really good way to bring attention and grab an audience as well. You don't have to spend a lot of money on this, but I do recommend having something, especially if you are at a festival where there are tons of booths, or even if you are sitting by yourself at a book signing of one inside of a store. You want to be able to grab the attention of people and give them a feeling for what you're all about before they come up to you. A lot of people can feel awkward walking straight up to someone without really knowing anything about them first. And so this can really help break the ice and make it clear and draw in more of the right people. I've seen authors decorate their tables with plants or other merch-related things that might be a good fit for your book. I've seen fantasy authors have maps on display from their books. So get creative and think about anything that you could have on your table that would stand out. So similarly to this, because I kind of talked about it a little bit, is you can optionally have some merch on your table either for purchase separately from your books or to go with the books. So a lot of times I'll offer for people that bought the book and got it signed some freebies like stickers or bookmarks. I have postcards with a poem on them for my newest book. And so this is another fairly inexpensive way that you can go that could add something to your table. And you could even have a sign that says, buy my book and get these things for free. And that can be a little boost of sales for you. But also on the profit side, stickers are typically like 20, 25 cents a piece if you order them in bulk. You're not adding a big expense, but giving them an extra bonus so they feel like they're getting more. For mine, I recently designed and ordered some stickers from Canva. It honestly was a little bit pricier than other places that I've ordered from in the past, where you could order bulk stickers like Vistaprint. I think Zazzle, where I ordered that sign, has stickers too. So do some research and look around at what is best for the price. I also don't like how these were sent to me because I have to just cut out each one individually. And it's nice when they're on a roll or already cut for you. But I digress. I designed these in Canva, and then you can just upload them to the place that you want to order them from. So these ones say read more poetry and have my website at the bottom. And then I also did a design with a poem from the book. So again, these are on the table and kind of draw the eye with brighter colors and could help people know the genre that I write, but also see that I have some little extras for them if they're interested. So I also will have some postcards on the table in addition to my sign. And by the way, I don't really teach like ordering merch, but what I do teach is creating a strong brand, which is so helpful for creating a long-term career as an author. And I teach branding and all of the elements that you should have on top of social media marketing and everything you need to know to sell your book on social media inside my Creatives Content Club membership. I will include the link to that in the description, or you can head to marketingbyshelby.com/club to enroll. Okay, so those are like the physical things that I recommend bringing. But for number 4, I want to talk about preparing your pitch for your signing. So it's going to happen at your signing where someone comes up to you and wants to know more about your book and what you're offering. So I really recommend thinking ahead and practicing 1 to 2 sentences, a quick pitch that summarizes your book and leaves the reader wanting more. So what I do for this is think back about my book, who I wrote it for, what I believe the impact is of that book, and summarize it in 1 to 2 sentences, including who it's for, the plot, if applicable, if you're a fiction author, and then what they might take away from it. So for me, my newest book, From Sand to Stars, is really for those who feel anxious and overwhelmed about time, who feel like they aren't taking advantage of life, who feel like life is passing them by, who feel that pressure. And so whenever someone comes up to me, I'll kind of give them that little spiel about who it's for and that there's both inspirational and vulnerable pieces about this to help them feel less alone. And that's my pitch. And based on what they say back, we can continue talking back and forth about the book, if it's a good fit for them, if it's a good fit for their friend. And we just want to have a friendly conversation, encouraging them and telling them a little bit about the book. It also might be they come up to you and ask you to tell them a little bit about you and not just the book. They want to know the author behind the books in front of them. And so then it's a good idea to have, again, a couple sentences about who you are, what you write, and again, tying that back to your mission as an author. Who do you want to impact? And fiction authors ask me this quite often, like, I just write fun stories, like I'm not changing people's lives. I disagree. Books do change readers' lives. The reason that we love reading is because they impact us emotionally and make us feel something. So entertainment is absolutely a valid reason to write books. And that can be your mission, is to make people laugh, is to give people a thrill from their daily lives. So think about what your mission is and prepare that before any signing or panel. And then number 5, depending on the venue and the event, you'll want a way to collect payment if you are selling these books or this merch yourself. You can accept cash if you'd like. I recommend having even prices for that and not doing like $16.99, but doing like $20, because people will be more likely to have a $20 bill than $16.99, or you'll have to offer change, or you can just accept payment electronically through platforms like Venmo or Cash App or PayPal, depending on what country you're in. There's also Square, where you can order a card reader if you want to be able to accept credit and debit cards there at the venue. Now, this only really applies if you are doing like a book fair where there isn't a checkout system and every booth has their own checkout system. For example, with my last book signing, it was at a bookstore. They ordered in the books and people would go to the checkout to check out. So I didn't have to worry about that. And my book festival tomorrow, as a traditionally published author, the books have already been ordered and people will be able to check out through the bookstore there. Whereas the self-published authors who are at the festival tomorrow are bringing their own copies and will be checking out their customers on their own. So be prepared for that as well. Okay, so as I'm preparing for this panel tomorrow, I'll be reading poems on my panel and talking a little bit about my new book. So I've practiced my new book pitch a little bit. I want to make it a little bit longer because we each get about 10 to 15 minutes. But the next thing that I'll be doing is preparing my reading for my book. Now, this definitely differs for poetry versus a fiction or a nonfiction book, but just a couple general tips. I always have a separate copy that I can make marks in, that I can stick Post-it notes into to mark off certain pages. So I'll be going through and marking off the pages that I want to read and then practicing them, seeing how much time it takes up with my allotted time slot. I'm also probably going to have a little outline that I stick on the back. So as I am talking and holding up my book to show to my audience, I can take a sneak peek at my outline and make sure that I don't miss anything. So that's a little sneak peek, little trick for you to just put some sort of like note you can tape onto the back of your book to remind you what your outline is as you're talking. So I'll be practicing that, marking the pages that I want to read. If you are a fiction author, I recommend that you really pick a section where you can leave people off on something juicy, something interesting, something that makes them go, I need to go buy this book so that I can read the next page and find out what happens next. And if you're a nonfiction author, if it's a memoir, same thing as what I just said with fiction, leave them off on something interesting. And if you're nonfiction who teaches people something, give them like one thing that they'll learn, show them the value, but then make sure that they know that in the rest of the book, they can learn so much more that will really impact them and give them that transformation. All right, I'm going to go prepare for my book signing and my panel tomorrow. It is the Louisville Book Fair, so I'll make sure to show you some footage from that. I'm sure it was fun. I love these events, and there's going to be over 100 other authors there for me to meet and connect with, so I'm very excited for that. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss new videos every single week. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.